What's up? What's up? I'm Dr. Omatma, host of Egg Meets Sperm, where we're busting fertility myths, sharing tangible tips for your fertility journey, and bringing you the most knowledgeable guests to support your journey to parenthood. This podcast is for both women and men because getting fertile as fuck is for both partners, don't you think? Remember, just listening to this podcast won't get you pregnant, but following the tips we share just may. Let's get you fertile AF so that you can co-create the family you dream of. And if your partner's not listening to this, make sure to share this episode with your partner. Hello and welcome to Egg Meets Sperm. I'm your host, Dr. Omatma, and I have a very special guest today, Heidi Brockmyre. She is a doctor of Chinese medicine. She has a decade of experience helping women grow their families. She's supported hundreds of women in her clinic in San Diego and thousands of women around the world. She teaches women how to get pregnant faster, healthier, and easier through the Fertility Activation Method. And she loves teaching women how to renew faith in their ability to conceive and take back control of their health and bodies. Welcome, Heidi. It's so great to have you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Awesome. Well, I'm really excited to talk to you because I know that you bring this unique perspective from Chinese medicine and how it applies to fertility. So let's kick it off with the basics, right? What is your cycle and why is it important to restore our fertility?
Yeah, I love that question. And I like to start by first clarifying what the cycle is, because a lot of times women are thinking, oh, just my menstrual cycle, like just when I have my period. And when I say cycle, I mean from day one of your period all through the day one of your next period. So it includes your period, it includes the follicular phase, which is like pre-ovulatory, ovulation, the implantation phase / PMS phase, till day one of your next period. That is your cycle. And number one thing to position yourself to get pregnant is to balance your cycle, or I like to say activate your cycle. And I think we know this intuitively as women, but we're conditioned by medical culture to not really credit the health of our cycle to be as important as it really is. When women go for a fertility consult with their doctor's not saying, well, what about your Bbt chart? What do your temperatures look like? And a lot of women keep Bbt charts just to know, like, well, did I ovulate at this time, just to predict ovulation in retrospect? But from a Chinese medicine point of view, and even a non-Chinese medicine point of view, there's so much information you can get from keeping a Bbt chart. And then also, how healthy are your periods? What's your PMS like? What symptoms are you getting around ovulation? Are you ovulating early? Are you ovulating late? Do you have a short luteal phase, short follicular phase? Are you tired when you're ovulating? Are you cranky? Are you having breast tenderness, headaches, digestive issues? At what point in your cycle are you having these? So there's so much juicy information that we can get from our cycles, and which is just completely ignored from a conventional Western standpoint. Even if you're going into IVF, they were like, oh, it doesn't matter if you even have a cycle or if they're irregular. And so there's so much information that we're missing out on as women when we're not looking at our cycle, but also we're missing out on the opportunity to restore our fertility through our cycle. Because when I teach women how to track their cycle so that they can see, oh yeah, I'm getting a headache every time I ovulate, and I'm also getting some low back pain. And what can I do about this? What does this mean? How can I change this? Because when we have a healthy cycle, that is the groundwork for being fertile.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said so much here. So we talked about like a little bit, you mentioned about the symptoms that you can have throughout your cycle that are maybe indicator lights of things not as optimal as they should be. Can we talk a little bit about a really good menses? Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like to have a healthy menstruation?
Yeah, great question. Well, for one thing, it starts before menstruation. So what symptoms are leading up to that? If you're having a lot of PMS symptoms, if you're having a lot of cramping or breast tenderness, headaches, digestive issues, sleeplessness, and so forth, then that's where the period starts. So you're wanting mild PMS symptoms, mild to no. It's normal and it's healthy to have some mild cramping, some mild breast tenderness, and so forth. But certainly if those symptoms are debilitating or very uncomfortable, just really prominent, or if you're having like a lot of spotting beforehand, some things that are just like, this doesn't seem healthy, that's the first part of it. Then once you get your period, it's ideal for your period to just come on at once versus having a lot of spotting. Sometimes a little bit of mild spotting before the flow kicks in. That can still be healthy, but ideally we want just like the flow to kick in. And an ideal length of flow would be between 3 to 5 days, and where it's like a moderate amount of flow, not too light, maybe just need a panty liner. That would be considered pretty light, not so heavy that you can hardly keep up with changing your pad or your tampon, your Diva cup, whatever you might be using. And so a moderate amount of flow for 3 to 5 days. The flow should be thicker than water or thicker than regular blood if you cut yourself. If it's watery, like from a Chinese medicine point of view, the watery blood would be considered like blood deficiency, like not having enough nutrient-rich blood in your uterine lining. But it shouldn't be so thick that it's like clotty. So it should be somewhere in between, kind of like watery and like not so thick or clotty.
Yeah.
Still fluid.
Yeah.
It's a better way to say it. And on that note, not having a lot of clots, you might have a little pea-sized clots here and there. That's normal. But if you're having large clots, nickel quarter-sized clots or bigger, that's not ideal. Sometimes you might get those clots when you have like a good cleaning of the uterus. For example, like a lot of times women, once they start my program, their first period might seem like, this isn't a healthy period, but it's because the uterus is cleaning out. So there might be some more cramping, there might be some larger clots because it's like getting rid of some of that old dead tissue in the uterus. But ideally, you're not wanting to see a lot of clots or big clots, not have excessive cramping, again, just mild symptoms throughout your period. And then it should taper off. It's normal for there to be a tapering, but it's the tapering off shouldn't go beyond, say, a day or so. So, to have ongoing spotting after your period is mostly done, that's another sign of something that wouldn't be ideal.
Yeah. So much of what you've said, and especially like how our period starts, right? The PMS, the symptoms that lead into menstruation, those are often just normalized. Those, most of the time, people are like, oh, that's not normal. It's not normal for me to be in pain. It's not normal for me to have all of these symptoms. When in reality, it's fine. It's okay, but it needs attention, right? Is that your approach with it too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's never going to be a perfect period. We're fluid beings. It's a relative balance. And 1 month, we might not have the best month. Maybe we had unexpected stress that month or something that circumstantially came up. We didn't sleep as well. Like we had to travel unexpectedly and we didn't eat as well. So it's not about trying to be perfect, but we want like a relative healthy balanced cycle. And we want to be able to look at our cycle and understand, connect the dots. Like I was more headachy before I got my period this month. I had more clots. It's probably because I was really stressed out. I didn't get as much sleep, or I see that I didn't exercise very much. I was like at my computer all day and I didn't go for those daily walks. So we can have a better understanding of how our body is talking to us through our cycle. And we can aim for that ideal balance. And of course, give ourselves grace and our bodies grace. So like, we're not always going to be in ideal balance, but we can make that slow progress and we can learn how to sustain an overall healthy cycle, even though it's not going to be perfect all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that perspective. So I have another question that goes back to your first part of your answer, which was around the Bbt charts. And I think that a lot of people poo-poo Bbt charting because they don't understand the value of it outside of confirming ovulation. Like, woohoo, we confirmed ovulation. That's the tip of the iceberg with what you can do on a Bbt chart. So can you inform everyone that's listening, how amazing is this tool in your practice?
I think women who are trying to conceive have such an association with it being kind of a stressful process. Obviously, there's so much to do, and you feel so overwhelmed when you're struggling to conceive with taking the supplements, going to these appointments. What else can I do? And am I doing it perfect? And so it's kind of another tedious thing to be done just to collect this information that's not always clear to the woman. Well, I don't really know what this means, especially if it's just for predicting ovulation, because you don't really know when you ovulated till after the fact for the Bbt chart. So obviously the ovulation predictor kits or ovulation trackers are a little better at that. But what I love about them is you can see the pattern of the cycle. So the temperatures, what's even more important is to see what the pattern is with the temperatures. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, first half of your cycle, from day one of your period up through ovulation, the follicular phase, that's what we consider the Yin phase. So, you have yin and yang, or yin yang is how most people think it's pronounced. And the Yin phase is the building phase. So yin in nature is feminine. It's more about material substance, where yang is the more about movement and energy rather than the substance. And they have to go together, because if you have substance, it needs to be moved by something. And so the Yin phase of the cycle is the building up. So you're growing your uterine lining, you're restoring the lining after it just shed, your follicle is growing, getting ready for ovulation. And so this is the building phase. And then the second half of the cycle, the luteal phase, from ovulation to your period, that's the yang phase. That's when all the movement's happening. You ovulate the egg, then your cycle gets warmer, which yin is cooling energy and yang is warming energy. So it's warmed up, ready for implantation, and then all the action that happens with implantation. If there is no implantation, then all the action that happens to prepare for the shedding of the lining. And so that's reflected in the chart, where it almost looks like the yin yang symbol, where one energy always shifts into the other and then back to the other. So yin eventually crescendos, turns into yang energy, that crescendos turns back into yin energy, and it's that beautiful cycle. So you can see when you are recording the temperatures, if your body is on that cycle. And you can see different patterns. For example, if you see a lot of zigzag patterns on a chart from a Chinese medicine perspective, that would tell us that there's some what we call liver qi stagnation, or I say stuck liver energy. And the liver, we're not speaking just about the organ, the liver, but we're talking about the energetic system associated with the liver. Well, it's responsible for the flow of energy throughout your body, the smooth flow of energy, and it regulates your menstrual cycle. And things that can make that energy get stuck are stress or not enough sleep, repressed emotions, toxins. And then the liver gets kind of cranky, and it doesn't start, it sputters that energy throughout the body. It's start, stops, and it's ugh. And that affects our hormonal balance. And so you can see that in the chart. And along with other symptoms, you might be oh, well, yeah, that's probably because I've been really stressed out and I haven't been sleeping as well, again, or exercising. And then there's these different things that you can put into place so that you can get that liver energy flowing more smoothly. And then you can start to see those temperatures regulate, and you get that feedback for your efforts so that you know that you're on the right track, because it can be so frustrating on any health journey and the fertility journey when you don't know when your efforts are paying off or doing anything. The only thing you're measuring it by might be did I get a pregnancy positive test this month or not? And if you don't, you think well, what's the point? I'm not going to try anything. But then when you have these ways of measuring your progress, you can stay committed to the things that you're doing and continue to build on that progress till you get that positive test.
Mm-hmm. So what I'm hearing is we come from different perspectives, yet I feel like we're using the tools very similarly, in that it's the feedback that you're getting, that what you're doing is actually creating some sort of shift in the body that's being accountable or accounted for in some way, so that you're not looking at just the final end result. At the end of your journey, yay, you're pregnant, woohoo. But like along the way, there's checkpoints and there's transformation. And I explain this to clients, like, if we can have you do the BBT tracking, it eliminates the need for me to have to check your hormones every single month.
Yeah.
If you don't want to go for a blood test every single month, let's just do this. And it's free.
Yeah.
You can do it at home. Pretty effortless. I mean, it takes some effort, but in the grand scheme of things, it's less effort than going for a blood draw every month. So I think that it is such an incredible tool. And I wish that not only more women were using it, but like not enough practitioners that know about how to use this in a way that supports their practice. So I think BBT tracking is one of my favorite things ever. So
yeah, it's great.
I'm a convert.
Also, just to add to what you're saying, I think women, once they understand like the benefits of it and how to interpret some of that data that they're tracking, it's so much more empowering because there's all these ways that for us to know about our bodies that we weren't taught by doctors, we weren't taught growing up. And so it's really exciting to start to learn them and put those things together and see like it's not fun getting a blood draw, but it is fun getting more information about your body. And so when there's these tools that you can use at home to learn more about your body and what it responds to, and you can also see, oh, look, I have a zigzag temperatures at this time in my cycle, and I was also having bad headaches, and I was also having some digestive issues, and I was irritable. And you can see it's just so powerful to connect those dots and then feel empowered and a sense of control when you can change certain things or use certain tools, take supplements or follow your advice, follow my advice, and start to see those patterns change and your symptoms relieved. It's so empowering.
Absolutely. So good. So let's tackle another big thing because apparently we're talking all big things today. So how does digestion affect fertility, hormones from the TCM perspective?
Yes, fun question. So from a Chinese medicine perspective, your digestive system is really kind of the foundation of your whole health. I think from a lot of perspectives, even conventional medicine perspective. But each organ system in Chinese medicine has a different element to it, like a natural element. So the digestive system is the earth element. And so if you think about our relationship to earth, we depend on earth for everything, for all the abundance in our lives, for housing, for nutrition, for everything. So it's the earth element of our body, it's our digestion. It's going to provide the materials with the help, of course, and coordination of the other organ system, but it's going to provide all the materials that we need to function optimally, including our fertility. So we need the nutrients for hormonal balance, and we need nutrients for egg quality. We need nutrients for uterine lining quality. And I think a lot of times we're so focused on our diet and thinking just like, well, if I eat a healthy diet, I need to eat a healthier diet then. And certainly that's really important, but it's not just about what you put into your body, but it's also about your body's ability to assimilate that nutrition and deliver it where it needs to go. So it's really the building block for fertility, because for instance, if your digestive system is not able to process the food, then you could have more food allergies. This is more of like a naturopathic point of view, probably, or functional medicine. But if you have leaky gut, for example, and undigested food particles are leaking through, and then your body sees that as a foreign object and is attacking it, and then you get systemic inflammation, including in your ovaries and uterus, then that's a problem. Plus, your body is not getting the nutrients it needs. So your eggs are being exposed to toxins as well as not getting the nutrition it needs to keep your eggs in good quality so that the genetic material isn't compromised. Also, to build a healthy uterine lining. So very popular Chinese medicine kind of pattern or diagnosis is what we call blood deficiency. And it's not the same thing as if you were to go to the doctor and have a blood draw and they would say, well, you're iron deficient. Although that would fall into the category, it's more than that. It's based more on a collection of symptoms that you might have, say dry skin, dry eyes, dry hair, your hair falling out, poor memory or anxiety, maybe a very light period. You can see a lot of symptoms in your cycle, blood deficient symptoms if you have that, like a light period or watery flow or pink flow or not having a period. And you have a very thin uterine lining that is just not plush enough to really support implantation, let alone pregnancy. And so if your digestive system is weak, a lot of times that like blood deficiency is really kind of like a secondary pattern to having a weak digestive system so that your digestion isn't able to assimilate the nutrition. It could be because your diet's really bad, but even if you have a good diet, but your digestion is weak, then it's not able to build blood that's really nutrient dense blood that's able to nourish your eggs, your ovaries, your reproductive organs.
Yeah. So what you're saying is really, it's not just about the food that you eat. It's also how your body's processing that food, if it's collecting the nutrients from the food that you're eating, and then kind of delivering that through the body, specifically to the ovaries to support egg quality and the uterus to support the uterine lining.
Yeah, exactly. And another significant point is that if your digestive system is weak, so like in Chinese medicine, your digestion is like a pot on a fire. And the fire is maybe like, the digestive enzymes. You could consider it that. And so if the fire is weak, then your soup in the pot is just not really going to break down. It's not going to turn into a nice soup. There'll be chunks of food left. There'll be some residual fluids. And so that can lead to a secondary issue of having like fluids in the system, which can result in your fallopian tubes being blocked by fluids or cysts developing on your ovaries. Or if that digestive fire is weak, then it has to pull from a backup source, which would be your kidney energy. Your kidney energy is the same energy that supports your reproductive energy. So if it has to be like that energy has to be used for digestion, then it's weakening the amount of energy that it has available for supporting reproductive energy. So then you can have a cascade of issues from having that weakened digestion as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And so what are some things that weaken that fire? And then what are some things that strengthen that fire?
Yeah, good question. That's what everyone wants to know, right? Like, great, well, what do I do? Yeah, there's some basic things to start with. In Western culture, we see salads as like the healthiest thing you can do. Like, oh, well, maybe if I just ate salad for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, then I'd be the healthiest person ever. But a lot of raw fruits and vegetables, well, cold fruits or raw vegetables, we encourage people to minimize the amount of them. So it's really important to have a warm breakfast, for example, because your digestive system likes warmth. If you're putting cold in it, then it has to take that much more energy to warm it up, so to speak, before it can be broken down. And then in the morning, that's when your digestive system is like the strongest. There's a circadian rhythm in Chinese medicine. So different organ systems peak at different times in the day. Makes sense for your digestive organs to peak in the morning because that's when you're like getting your fuel for the day. And so you want to have a warm breakfast at that time because that's really like adding to the fire. If you have a cold breakfast, then you're dampening that fire from the start. So you really want to rev up the fire at the beginning of the day. And it's not that you could never have salads. I say like 75% have cooked vegetables and then 25% raw. And then if you do have salads, then you can pair it with a warm grain or tea or soup so that it's a little more balanced out. But like cooked vegetables, I don't know, there was a craze maybe 10 years ago where it's like kale smoothies. It was just like, everybody's having kale smoothies. And Chinese medicine practitioners are like, no, it's too much cold. Or also the medical medium, like celery juice. We're like, no, it's like terrible for your digestive system. And especially if somebody already has a weakened one. And then eventually it came out that all these raw kale was contributing to hypothyroidism for women, which is considered a cold pattern in Chinese medicine. So it's like, it's because the digestive system was weakened and there's too much cold in there. So we were like, I told you so. So yeah, that would be one of the first tips I would give, and like cooked soups and stews, foods that are easy to digest, easy to assimilate. And especially if you're someone who, you have a weakened digestive system, like you're feel like gassy easily after meals or cramping, or you have like loose stools and some undigested food in the stools, not to get gross, but then this would be especially good for you. Because if you think of like soups and stew as something more easily digestible, then it's like you're exercising those digestive muscles and building up the strength, instead of if you give yourself a big, huge raw salad, then those muscles are already tired. And it's like, oh my God, this is going to take a lot of energy to break this down, and it's going to weaken that fire.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Well, thank you so much. The way that you explain things is just brilliant. So I appreciate all of your knowledge and how you're able to like get it down to words that we can understand, us non-Chinese medicine people. I have one more thing, if you would like to explain this, because we have quite a lot of, as many people as we have listening to the podcast, a lot of them are actually practitioners. And I imagine that the majority of practitioners like myself have heard from clients who go to acupuncture regularly. They come back and they say, oh, my acupuncturist said I have spleen qi deficiency. And I kid you not, like 98% of the people that come back to me say that they have been diagnosed with this from their acupuncturist. So what the heck does that mean?
That's an easy answer, because it's just everything that I just explained. Yeah, I just don't, okay. I always say weak digestive energy for like the lay person, because it's, Western medicine, the spleen is not at all part of the digestive system. It's part of the immune system, the lymphatic system. And so it's like, it's hard to connect, but basically that means everything I just said, weakened digestive energy. And there's a lot of us have it.
Yeah. So, all right, y'all heard it here. What you can do to optimize your spleen qi or strengthen your digestive fire, however you want to look at it.
That's right.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I know you have an amazing gift for our listeners. Would you like to share what that is?
Yes, that is the checklist. Is that right? I'm so sorry. I'm like, which gift did we?
You actually have a free supplements guide.
Yes, that is a really good gift. And it's a great gift, especially in light of everything that we just talked about. Actually, some of the supplements will help your spleen qi deficiency as well. And you'll learn specifically about which supplements you can take to fill in the gaps, any nutritional gaps that may be in your diet. But then also there's supplement recommendations for specific conditions, like if you've been diagnosed with PCOS or endometriosis, hypothyroidism. So it's very customized so that you can learn which supplements will work for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. And I know that you will have some incredible tips for the rest of the week for our listeners. So for those of you listening in, make sure to tune in for all of Heidi's awesome tips that are coming up soon. Was that an amazing episode or what? Make sure to check our show notes so that you can link up with our guests. And if you're not a part of our secret Fertile AF community, you can join for free via the link in our show notes. Last but not least, have you showed us some love lately? It would mean the world to us if you could share and review our podcast. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time on Egg Meets Sperm. Peace.